Howdy, everyone. It's me, Matthew Allen. I'm back. Welcome to the Whatta podcast, episode 25. 25 of these. That's really, really crazy to think about. I'm usually really bad at sticking consistent with anything. Pretty much everything that I do is, do I want to do this today? No. Sure, then I won't, I guess. Whoopsies. And then I run off like a little goblin man, just into the woods. I'm not a little goblin man. I promise. But yeah, no, I'm back home. I'm finished my semester. My spring semester is over. I've got a year left, which is insane, unless I really mess up in these last two semesters, in which case then I'll have more than a year left, and that would be disheartening. But yeah, no, I'm chugging along. I'm getting through it. Back home with my family, it's fun times. I've been here like a week because it was What a Book last week, so I didn't get to be like, hey guys, I'm back home. Ooh. Although if you've been checking out the streams, I've been trying to pump out. You might have noticed my background is different, and that is why. It's because it's me at home. And who doesn't like being at home? What else was I gonna say? Yeah, no, the drive down was fine. I stopped by my friend Haley. Howdy, Haley. You're probably listening. Probably not. You sometimes check in, you sometimes don't. I will find out because you'll be like, stop mentioning me or something. Because I'm funny like that. So, yeah. Didn't take too many notes. There was a couple of things of interest that happened recently. Some of it sad, some of it not. As we know, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, it came out. That was pretty solid. I went and I saw it. It's goofy to look back at what people kind of thought that movie was going to be, and then seeing what actually was made. And I really enjoyed what was made, and I think it's interesting right now to see the weird internet split that has occurred, where some people are like, oh, this is too violent for a PG-13 movie. Ga 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 ga. And then other people are like, hey, sorry, have you seen PG-13 movies? Sometimes they get real messed up. Especially horror. Now, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, or Dr. Mom, as I'm going to call it. Dr. Mom, that's funny. But, it's a Marvel movie, as we know, right? It's Marvel. That's fine. Nothing wrong with Marvel. Everyone loves Marvel. Sam Raimi is the director. Sam Raimi is fantastic. He gave us the Evil Dead trilogy, which consists of Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn, and then Army of Darkness. Army of Darkness is fine. It's also PG-13, if you were ever curious. He gave us the 3 OG Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies, Drag Me to Hell. He's given us a lot. So, him popping over to this isn't surprising. He did a really good job. Applause all around for Sam Raimi. I love him. Great director. People have this weird notion of PG-13, right? Where they're like, violent things can't happen. And it's like, no, it's not what PG-13 means. PG-13 means violent things can happen. They just can't be overtly explicit, And now I won't get into too much detail about the movie itself when it's like, oh, what is it that people are upset about? Go watch the movie. It's only been a week. That would be really messed up of me to do. But I'm just going to point out that there is such a large chunking of PG-13 horror movies, like Insidious, A Quiet Place, Drag Me to Hell, as previously mentioned, Old, the American remake of The Ring from 2002, there's so many. Happy Death Day, Cloverfield, all those movies are PG-13, right? And there's tons of them. There's tons of PG-13 horror movies out there, and some of them aren't that good, and some of them are better than others. But, the point I want to present in that quick moment of me talking about it, Stay Alive is in here, and that movie's not good, is the fact that, you can do a lot with PG-13. There are some PG-13 movies that are, horror, absolutely terrifying. The worst. Never want to look them in the eyes. And there are some that are goofy, beyond a doubt. And everyone should laugh at them. They should laugh at them real good. The Insidious franchise has built its whole life on being PG-13, so that way everyone can come see it and get scared, and not just adults. It is what it is. Poltergeist, like, so many of them are out there, right? And people are doing this weird touting of, like, PG-13 can't be violent. And it's like, yeah, it can. And I know this is specifically, like, horror movies that I was looking at, and that's because Sam Raimi comes from a horror background, and that's more so what kind of, like, parts of the elements of what happened in this movie were. It was, PG-13 horror, which, hey, can be pretty terrifying, dude. Sometimes it's insane. Sometimes even your, like, PG-13 action movies can have some wild stuff in it. Like, look at Venom Let There Be Carnage. That's a PG-13 action movie. And it ends with Venom eating the head off of Cletus Cassidy. That's horribly violent, dude. That's terribly violent. Like, wow. What else is in this list? I enjoy that when you look up PG-13, like, action movies, there's a list of them that just say action fantasy, and it's basically all of the Marvel stuff. Anything with superheroes is essentially in this section, and I think that's hilarious. The Lord of the Rings, The Dark Knight. Oh, I forgot The Dark Knight is PG-13. Seeing as we burn off half the face of the city's best defense lawyer. Right? District attorney? That's what he is. He's the district attorney. I forgot what Harvey Dent was. We burn him up. We explode someone. Someone else gets a pencil in the eye. Like, all of that is way more graphic than what occurred. And there's just this weird outcry. Or even looking back at, like, the other Sam Raimi movie. OG Spider-Man? Let's take a look at that real quick, right? Green Goblin murders a whole, like, little terrace filled with Oscorp executives. Like, he throws down his bomb, it flash fries them, they turn to, like, dust, right? And then the movie ends with him getting impaled by his own glider, right? That's way more violent. That's way more visually violent, like, visibly to your eyeballs. You can see that. That's violent, dude. That's Tenet? Oh, I forgot that was PG-13. Inception. The Batman, like, people are getting murdered left and right in that movie. Like, it's it's insane what people want to, like, classify as, like, this is too much, or, like, this, like, whatever. It's so weird. It's so weird. But yeah, I wanted to start by talking about that because I thought it was interesting to see this dichotomy that we have against, like, movie ratings. Which, like, hey, the PG-13 movie rating exists for a reason, and it's because certain movies in the 80s, specifically, what was it? Indiana Jones and... what was the other one? I can't remember the other one, but there were two specific two big movies that they weren't R. Like, they couldn't be rated R because they would just be egregious. They weren't R-rated movies, but they weren't PG, but they had to be rated PG because they couldn't be rated R because PG-13 didn't exist. And a bunch of parents took their kids to it, and then their kids were horrified. Absolutely horrified. It wasn't the first Indiana Jones, it's the second one, which I think is Temple of Doom, right? Because it's Indiana Jones and the... I already forgot. What are the Indiana Jones movies? I know Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is the last one that no one likes to talk about. It's Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom, Last Crusade, and then Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. So, Temple of Doom is the one that really pushed people over the edge because, you had your little Temple of Doom where they were doing sacrifices, like, people were getting their hearts taken out of their chest, there was possession? Hypnosis? I don't know what you want to call that one. There was a whole lot of wild stuff, and that movie was originally rated PG. And so it's really wild, and people are like, we've got to do something. What if I Google it? What movies caused PG-13? Oh, cool. Nope, I know that one. Was it just Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom was, like, the big one that pushed it? Yeah. So Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom was the one that really, like, pushed it through the gate, that people were like, we need a new rating system. In which they just added one more rating, which is fine. So instead of just being G, PG, and then R, it became G, PG, PG-13, and then R. And Red Dawn, the OG Red Dawn with Patrick Swayze, Charlie Sheen, and like a couple other famous people my brain is blanking on. That was the first ever movie to be released outright with a PG-13 rating. There are a good chunk of movies that people, like, history went back and re-rated them to be PG-13 or not. Like, and some of them were left alone. Like, ironically, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, even though people were so outraged by its rating, it's still just PG. That one is still just rated PG. But yes, Red Dawn in, I think it's 85, that was the first movie to officially, like, come out with a PG-13 rating. Which, the rating system is so goofy. Because, you know, G for general audience, PG, sorry, I almost just said P. PG for parental guidance, PG-13 for parental guidance for children 13 and up. Right? And then R is 17 up, which I've always found funny. I want to know what makes a 16-year-old so different from a 17-year-old. To transition from family-friendly to family-unfriendly films. Oh, that's hilarious. Parents are strongly cautioned. That's usually what it says on the PG-13 rating, but oh, history.com. What do you have to say about the PG-13 rating? Yep. G, M for mature audiences. What? The initial rating categories were G, appropriate for all ages, M, for mature audiences, but all ages were admitted. What? R, persons under 16 not admitted without an accompanying adult, and X, no one under 17 was admitted. The M category was eventually changed to PG. Okay, that's so interesting. Didn't know that. So M got changed to PG. R was raised to 17 instead of 16. And then we had the PG-13 category added. That's so goofy. May contain very strong language. PG-13 films may contain very strong language, non-explicit nudity, strong, mildly bloody violence, or mild drug content. Oh, is that when we started using... That is when we started using... Okay. That's when... After that point, they started giving, like, the little description things of, like, why it has the rating. I don't know if anyone's ever read those. I think they're quite interesting. Sometimes they're not. It all depends on who you are. They changed X to NC-17, which... Don't think people release those movies anymore. But it is what it is. But yeah, that's PG-13. What an interesting 14 minutes this has been. All because of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. I am a Marvel fan. I'm a nerd. Duh. I have to burp. Excuse me. Jesus. What was I saying? Yeah, I'm a nerd. I like video games. I like Marvel. I sometimes like DC stuff. I did see The Batman. If you listen to the podcast, you probably already know that. And I thought it was pretty darn solid. That was real good. Anyways, that's PG-13. It's very goofy to me. But, moving on. I gotta type this one in and see if it gives me the man I'm looking for. Give me his website. Give me the website. So, driving in, right? Driving back into Florida. I just asked for the website. Do you guys not have one? Do you just have a Facebook? Oh, that's fantastic. I just want to know about the man. Okay. There is an American race car driver. And his name is Don Garlits. Right? A very generic name. Not generic. I mean, it's unique. But that's not the part that gets me every time I see this sign. There's a museum filled with, I believe it's like a drag racing museum. He's considered the father of drag racing, right? Don Garlits. This man is known as Big Daddy. So whenever you see the sign, it says Big Daddy Don Garlits. I think Big Daddy Don Garlits Museum of Drag Racing. When you Google it, it just says Don Garlits Museum of Drag Racing. But we all know that the building straight up says Big Daddy. And I think that's so funny. Like, I see it every time, and I've never looked into it. So I was intrigued. Like, I did not know he's considered the father of drag racing. That's kind of insane. What is this vehicle? Is there a human being in this vehicle? This is basically almost standing upright. Oh my god, there is a person in there. They're in like a little cage. I don't know why that's so funny to me. How did he get the nickname Big Daddy? Big Daddy, who acquired his nickname because he was the biggest name in drag racing during the 1960s, confessed he is surprised at his current success. What? What? This is an article from 1985? Wow. Oh, it's from the LA Times archives. That makes more sense. The LA Times did a thing on Big Daddy Don Garlits, who is apparently still alive, might I add. He resides in Florida because it's where he was born. He's a Florida boy. He's a Florida boy, I said, about the 90-year-old man. Golly, he probably went to war. No, too young. Born in 32. Oh, Wikipedia, what do you have to say for me? Yeah, Florida boy. A pioneer in the field of drag racing, he perfected the rear-engine top-fueled Dragster. What? An innovation motivated by the loss of part of his foot in a Dragster accident? How did that happen? The design was notably safer since it put most of the fuel processing and rotating parts of the Dragster behind the driver. Driver is placed in front of nearly all the mechanical components, thus protecting him and allowing him to activate a variety of safety equipment in the event of a catastrophic mechanical failure or a fire. Huh. He was an early promoter of the full-body, fire-resistant Nomex driving suit, complete with socks, gloves, and balaclava? Oh, that headpiece. Oh, okay. I was like, what? Whoa, he went faster than 270 miles per hour in the quarter mile? The quarter mile? That's insane. He was also the first to top 200 miles per hour in the 1/8 mile. Dude. And after World War II, in the central and western United States, many Air Force bases and landing fields were decommissioned. These abandoned runways were perfect for drag racing. I didn't know that. Accident leads to innovation. On March 8th, 1970, at Lions Drag Strip, Garlits was driving Swamp Rat 13, also called the Winds Charger, a front-engine slingshot rail dragster when the vehicle suffered a catastrophic failure. The two-speed transmission Garlits was developing exploded and took a piece out of his right foot while the car broke in half in front of the cockpit. What? That's kind of insane. Garlits' accident was like many in the 1960s? What? That happened many times? And you're just saying... So you're telling me this happened so many times, but this man, Big Daddy Don Garlits, was the first person to sit back and think to himself, what if I fix this? What if we put all the components behind us? I think that'll be a little safer. Maybe. That's so insane. I love this. This is fantastic. When did he build this, the new version? He returned to Pomona in 1971 with the Swamp Rat 14, brand new mid-engine front cockpit rail, also dubbed the Swamp Rat IR by Hot Rod. considered the disadvantages of the new dragster design obvious, and indeed, Garlits lost in his first outing with the new car to Gary Cochran at Lions Dragster. However, Swamp Rat 14 became so successful that in 71, Garlits won 2 of his next 3 Top Fuel Eliminator titles. The Winter Nats? That's what they called it, really? And was a runner-up at Lions, all in the new car. A change so momentous had not happened since Mickey Thompson moved the seat behind the rear axle to create the Panorama City Special Slingshot Rail Dragster. What does that one look like? Darn it, give me an image. Oh. Cool. Don't like that. Origin dragsters have since become mainstream in drag racing. Yeah, because it's 1,000 times safer. Further accomplishments, he won 10 American Hot Rod Association championships. In October 20... Wow, can't read. On October 20th, 1987, his dragster Swamp Rat 30, the sport's only successful streamlined fueler, was enshrined in National Museum of American History, a branch of the Smithsonian. I want to see the Swamp Rat 30, just because it's a funny name. Swamp Rat 30. Images. This is interesting. Are you the Swamp Rat 30? You're so small. You're so much smaller than I expected you to be. Like, it's long. Like, it's real long, but it's so thin. Drag racing cars are so thin. I don't know how I feel. I could never get into one of those. No, not one of those build kits for the Swamp Rat 30. No wonder this image I'm looking at makes it look so small. It's a build kit. Oh, I'm so dumb. I did see a life-size version image, and it is humongous. It's so long. That's the thing. They're very, very long. Suffered a blowover? What's a blowover? Used in motorsports. B, blowover. The big one? No. Blower, blow over. Flipping of a car or boat due to excessive air under the chassis or hull, respectively. Oh. He received several injuries from the resulting crash. Though none were life-threatening, he temporarily retired from active driving and became a color commentator. What is a color commentator? Just a sports commentator? What? Who assists the play-by-play commentator. Oh, he fills in when the play is not in progress. Interesting. So he's essentially like, when things aren't happening is when he talks. That's pretty goofy. Interesting. Yep. He resumed briefly in 98, which is insane for a man born in 32. What is that? Put him in his 60s? Like 66, right? Yeah. 66, getting into a dragster? My man. I could never. His last qualifying race was in May 2003? Wow. He qualified 16th, setting a personal best speed in the quarter mile with a time of 4.788 seconds at 319.98 miles per hour. Wow. Whew, that's... Wow. Yeah, and then he opened the Don Garlits Museum of Drag Racing over in Ocala. What? Always at the forefront of driver safety in the wake of funny car driver Scott Kalita's fatal crash and numerous other engine explosions and resultant fires occurring in the last 300 feet of the quarter mile. Garlits declared... He declared what? I'm 100% in favor regarding NHRA's proposal to trim the race distance for top fuel and funny car from the traditional quarter mile to 1,000 feet, also suggesting that he would support a ban on rev limiters and a return to a 70-30 nitromethane to methanol ratio. Bro, he did it again in 2009? What? Why? Stop racing. What were you doing in another dragster in 2014? Oh, what? He was the Republican Party nominee for Florida's 5th Congressional District in 1994? That's so goofy. That's so goofy. Yeah, the Don Garlits Museum of Drag Racing. Opened in '84, chronicles the history of the sport of drag racing. I do want to visit it. I've had to pass it so many times in my life. But you know, like when you're young and you see something, you can't just go to it. You can't be like, oh, I want to go check that out. And like, go check it out. Right? Well, like, I've hit that point in my life where I can just be like, I'm going to go look at this thing. And then go do it. Because no one can really stop me except myself. You know? Like, there's no one who can be like, no, you can't do it. Because I'm an adult. There are 90 racing cars inside the drag race building, while a further 50 vehicles are in the antique car building. Many of the swamp rats are there. Okay. What? The iconic cars of Dean Moon, the Moon Eyes gas dragster, and the Moonbeam sports car are on display. Who is Dean Moon? Grew up in California. Moonza. A pun on Monza. How did he die? I want to know. Oh, then his wife died too. Interesting. Doesn't say how he died, though. The museum is home to the International Drag Racing Hall of Fame. Oh, is that where the Drag Racing Hall of Fame? So there's a whole Drag Racing Hall of Fame inside that museum? I didn't know that. I want to see that. Don Schumacher. Any relation to Joel? Already looked at Don Garlits. You see, this is the interesting thing to me about driving around places. Like, you see things that your brain goes, hey, I want to know more about that. And then you don't go look into it any further. Until eventually you just have to. You think to yourself, man, I need to look into this, man. I need to look into this. And I do want to look into it. Those are the fakest sets of teeth I've ever seen, John Force. What in the world? Oh, he's got kids. Who? This child's name is Galen Capitano. I'm not laughing at the name. I'm just intrigued at who chose it. Because Capitano is not Don Garlits' name. Donald Glenn Garlits. Because there's another child named Donna Garlits. What does she do? Oh. She also does drag racing. That's cool. Maybe? Or did I read this wrong? No, I read this wrong. She runs the museum? Interesting. I swear I know how to read. There's a compilation here. No way. This article is from this year. NHRA Legend came up just short in quest to be first to blast a battery-powered dragster down the quarter mile at 200 miles per hour. He tried to get a battery-powered dragster to hit 200 on the quarter mile at age 90? Dude, take a break. You can you can rest. At age 90, he's thrown down the gauntlet. Oh, they're writing tomfoolery. For decades a trailblazer. Oh, he set out like 10 years ago to become the first to blast a battery-powered dragster down the quarter mile at 200. And someone else beat him to it. Oh. Garlits didn't pout. Instead, he built Swamp Rat 38 EV dragster. Okay. He's planning a series of match races against Huff? You're 90! You don't need to keep racing. And he's so excited about it too. Like, dude, the energy of Big Daddy Don Garlits is insane. What? Interesting. Wow. Well, that's sweet. Apparently, back in 2011, Garlits worked with Mike Gary to build a. What did they build? What is it called? They built a scale model dragster that former Top Fuel driver Daryl Gwynn could drive because he's paralyzed. He was paralyzed from the chest down after an exhibition pass crash in 1990. And they built one that let him control the car with like a joystick type device the same way he does his wheelchair. That's really cool. Yeah. And then he got to compete against Garlits the following year. Oh, that's. And then they auctioned off the car to charity. That's okay. I like that. Interesting. I'm learning more than I thought I would in this moment. Uh yeah, that's Big Daddy Don Garlits. He seems like an interesting dude. Uh I do find it funny he tried to run for a seat in a government in the 90s, and that's just kind of goofy. But yeah, cool. I'm probably going to go check that out eventually. Not anytime soon, but it would be nice to. What a two very different, very weird topics. But hey, that's just what I thought for you. I could go on for longer, but I think people look, guys. I need you guys to send me things that you want to hear me talk about or see me look into, like I just did with Big Daddy Don Garlits and Don Garlits Museum of Drag Racing, which apparently has the Drag Racing Hall of Fame in it. I think that's crazy. I didn't know the Hall of Fame was there. I didn't even know drag racing had a Hall of Fame. I've learned so much in 15 minutes. You too can learn so much when you deep dive through Wikipedia and then through articles and learn stuff. Like, his father's name was Ed? That's not even surprising. Like, yeah, Gwyn? Give me his first name again. I'd like to say it fully. Daryl Gwyn. I think that's so awesome. They they built a dragster that this man who's been paralyzed for at that rate like 20 years could do a drag race again. I think that's amazing. Why did I not hear about that? This article is from this portion of this article that had that information in it is from this year in talking about Don Garlits going to race that with the EV dragster, so the battery powered one that isn't run by fuel. But I didn't hear about that in 2011, and that's insane because I live in the same state as as one of the main members of this article. It's what? Come on now. But I think that's so cool. I know nothing about racing. I'll say that outright. I know nothing about drag racing, except that it's not as long as you think. It's like a short distance. It's all about hitting max speeds real fast. That's all I know. I could never, can't even get me on a motorcycle. I went on a motorcycle once, and never again. But I could sit and watch some of this, maybe, possibly, depending. It sounds cool. It sounds intriguing. I don't know where I'd ever go to see drag racing, with full, proper, drag racers. That's insane. But also, I do think it's goofy, because I feel like now, currently, when you hear the words drag race, I feel like people think of a very different thing than very fast cars going zoom, which is fine. to each their own. But yeah, that's where I'm going to go ahead and leave the podcast off for today. Thank you guys so much for listening to What a Thought. I wonder what the title of this is going to be. I talked about two different things for a very extended period of time. So either it's going to be a funny title where I mash things up, or it's just going to be one where I say Big Daddy Don Garlits, because I think that in itself is very funny. Like, it's, I don't say, I need to say it here, right now. I'm not, like, making fun of his nickname. All the respect to him for pioneering, like, drag racing, and then certain aspects of it, and then safety aspects of it, and then just a bunch of stuff. I think that's super dope, and I mean it in no disrespectful way. I just think anyone whose nickname has the word daddy in it it's just immediately kind of funny. Not that there are many people who have the nickname daddy, I don't think. Kind of curious. People with no. There are people named Daddy, like Daddy Yankee. Who is Trick Daddy? A rapper? Of course. This man's name is Maurice Samuel Young, and he goes by Trick Daddy? Bro. That's so fantastic. Big Daddy Kane? Big Bad Voodoo Daddy? No. Oh, that's beautiful. Anyways, yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. If you feel so inclined, or you're just really hankering for some more of my voice, make sure to go check out What a Book. You know, I read a book every other week. It swaps out with the podcast. That way I have more time to find things to talk about so that I can talk about them for longer. Because I think the amount of time spent on both the PG13 rating and in relation to Doctor Strange, as well as Big Daddy Don Garlits, that was nice. I enjoyed that. I enjoy finding topics that are intriguing to, like, talk about in length, you know? But yeah, check out What a Book. Currently, we're reading Percy Jackson and the Olympians, like, just the full series. We're in the second book right now, The Sea of Monsters, so you should check that out. It's a good time, and I'm sure there are many people that either really like it or really don't. I think they get the most views on this channel, more than the podcast does, because sometimes the podcast gets funny things. Sometimes people look at certain ones and they're like, I'll watch this one, like Captain Dildo, way back at, like, the beginning of the podcast. A lot of people listen to that one, which makes sense. Or check out the gaming YouTube. I post a video there every single day. There's lots of series. It's mainly series. Old Twitch streams are getting put up there. And speaking of old Twitch streams, catch new Twitch streams over on Twitch. I don't have a set schedule. As of this coming out on Monday, I'm currently looking at streaming 4 days a week, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. That might change. I might decide to go live a life. Who knows? But that's currently what it looks like. Because, yeah, I'll be doing stuff Tuesdays and Thursdays to make money. Because I need that. Because I'm a broke college student. And then Wednesdays, I was like, no, I can't put a stream in there because I'll lose my mind if I put a stream in between the days I work, because then I would melt. So yeah, make sure to check all of that out. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your dog, because I'm sure everyone would like to listen to this beautiful voice talk about things for 40 minutes. It's fantastic. I think that's everything. Oh yeah, social medias. Everything's in the Linktree link. I have Instagram, I have Twitter. If you go to the Instagram, you'll see a bunch of professional things made by my good friend Kingsley, who also makes the image that you see on the podcast whenever it plays. Same with What a Thought. Those images are all Kingsley. Or you can check out the Twitter, where you'll see me post randomness, including a meme aimed at Tucker Carlson, which I think was the funniest thing I've ever typed up with my 2 thumbs. So thank you guys again. Oh, that was a dumb sentence. Thank you guys again. I've been Matthew Allen. This has been the What a Thought Podcast, episode 25. and I'll see all of you next week or whatever.